Real Fantasy Podcast.
You could say a little, or you could say a lot. Dreams are what you ask for, real is what you got. Take a few shots with a queen on the line, a rose in the middle, with love on the side. It's all a vibe tonight. It's all a vibe tonight.
Real Fantasy Podcast.
Yo, it's your girl Victoria Rosa, and I have a special guest, and we're gonna get into some things. You want to introduce yourself?
Let's do it. This is Jemiah Battle, the people's coach, the emotional alchemist. Just hear what you got going on.
Yeah, so listen, we're gonna talk about some shit. My last episode, I kind of cried a little bit on it because I got emotional about talking about mental health.
Wow.
So that's a lot that I want to focus on this season because we don't have that as a community to actually reach out. But I really want to start this segment off with this man speaking how they raise men in other countries. So we're gonna start off with this one.
You don't raise your children the way we do. I mean, a 9-year-old boy in Gaza is more of a man than a 25-year-old in America. You prolong adolescence to an absurd degree. You don't prioritize maturity, but at the same time, you sexualize your children very early. I mean, you've got like third graders twerking, and singing explicit song lyrics, and then you put that on social media for everyone to see. You're teaching kindergartners about sex, masturbation, about homosexuality and transgenderism. You think that prepubescent children can decide to have their genitals removed before they even know what they're actually for. You put little girls in beauty contests and try to turn them into, miniature Beyoncés and Cardi B's singing about WAP. I mean, 12%, I saw a study, 12% of 12-year-olds in the U.S. are already sexually active at 12. Now, 6.5% of them had actually already engaged in anal sex by the age of 12. The majority of sex offenders in the West victimize children, and they say about 90% of sexual assaults on children are never even reported. So imagine what the real numbers are. No, you have a pedophilia problem in the West. And no matter how much you wish you could, you can't shift that over to us. We're not going to help you justify your sickness.
So that clip, what you feel about it?
Wow. I can say firsthand, I can agree with 100% of what he's saying just from visiting other countries, having some friends and business partners who was born and raised in other countries, from having family members that was born and raised in other countries. That's an absolute fact. They got this stuff. I mean, they got this shit too, especially with the thing he said about the little kids. That's an international thing, but as far as the over-sexualization of kids here in the West early, that's a fact. And especially when it comes to men, what we get taught early versus what we find out late is a fact.
So I need you to elaborate on that because I'm not a man.
Absolutely.
So what do you get taught early but then eventually learn about?
Well, I start from the opposite. We get taught absolutely zero about emotions, about emotional wellness, about anything they got to do with mental or emotional health. Everything we get taught as men is what we can do externally, whether it's how to make money, whether it's how to do this, how to do that, but not what we can do internally. Like we don't have any. I can't remember, even with any of my homeboys, the older guys I talk to, any conversation about anything internally, whether it's health, mental, especially mental health. You don't hear that, period. I mean, you're starting to hear that talk a little bit now in the culture, but you didn't hear anything about mental or emotional health, period, growing up, especially in the 80s and 90s. I mean, you never heard it.
So with that being said, like from what I'm getting from what he's saying that a 9-year-old is more mature than a 25-year-old here. Do you feel like parents pacify and baby us where we're not mature enough to grow. Like, because in China, they have kids that go to store grocery shopping at the age of 5. We don't allow that here. Why is that?
Man, it's a lot of reasons. For one, it's cultural.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of, it's kind of that illusion of free will and freedom in America, where really they got you on a system and a program too, and the illusion of freedom.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you think you free, and that's the catch. So, like, we were latchkey kids. So, like, you know, mama either was third shift job or not around, daddy wasn't there. And so you had to figure out some shit, but it wasn't like a plan. Like, I'm going to teach you how to X, I'm going to teach you how to Y to make you mature. In my opinion, a lot of Western society, they're building you up to be a worker.
To live to survive.
To live to survive. Like,
Yeah.
you look at the whole school system. They setting you up to work a 9 to 5. Yeah, the whole school system. They giving you skills to be a good employee.
Yeah.
Which, again, we all got cycles. There's nothing wrong with any of that, but you don't hear about taking responsibility for yourself and making it something of your own, or eventually, even you work for somebody, making something of your own. Like, the school system teach you to be an employee, and most of our parents and parenting at our age, they didn't have the skill, so they was giving us just enough to be able to survive.
Yeah.
Just survive.
And to me, that's why I feel like they don't teach. What is it called?
Financial literacy.
Financial literacy. They grade everything based on answers they want you to know. They don't let kids be able to think outside of the box because they want to put you under the structure where you need to do it this way, like a factory worker.
Absolutely.
To build up the economy. So should we start raising our children different than our parents raised us? What should we do different if that's the case?
Absolutely. Exposure.
To what?
Exposure to, how can I put it? So it's funny. Like, we used to have to go to libraries and get encyclopedias to find out stuff. Like, we would have to be damn near James Bond and MacGyver to get information. Kids now got all the information at their fingertips.
Yeah.
But with all the information, they have nothing to source it to. So this generation lacks purpose even more than the last generation. So, yes, they got access to more information, but they don't have any purpose, anything to sources to. Like, even in our generation, we had an aspiration if it was I want to get out of where I'm at.
Yeah.
These kids necessarily ain't got a situation they want to get out of, so they just got a bunch of information and nothing to do with it. So I would say exposure to information to make them a mature adult. Like, I always tell, like, my kids, I already know they're gonna they gonna fuck up. You sorry?
Yeah.
They're gonna fuck up.
Yeah,
they're gonna fuck up. But my whole goal is how I don't beat myself up is if I can get them enough information to where they at least got another perspective or voice in their head to where so and so saying this, or like we were talking about earlier, TikTok saying this, Instagram saying this, but I got another perspective from my dad, so they got something to weigh it with. Now, and as a parent, that's all we can do is give them a perspective to help make them a more mature adult that can actually make decisions out of reason and based off who they are versus being conformed to what every and anything trying to make them to be. And media is just getting worse and worse with every generation. Like, it's crazy. Like, we created it and then they found a way to take it and use it against us to make us what they wanted to be. So, I mean, it's not the same.
It's manipulation and control. But
absolutely.
I want to know too, like, of course we want our kids to be mature, but I don't want them to be grown.
Yep.
And that's hard to decipher the difference when you're trying to teach a kid. Like, maturity and being grown and fast, it's a thin line between it. So how do you separate those two?
Same thing with any relationship. Conversation, constant communication, like constantly telling them. And like, as kids, there's kids between 2 and 4, they ask why all the time.
Yeah.
Parents cut that off. Let them keep asking why. And
so you can explain it to them,
so you
right?
can explain it. Most parents, I mean, like our parents were like, hey,
because I said so.
Because I said so. do as I say, not as you see.
Yeah.
That shit don't work. No, I see you,
and I want to do it too.
And I want to do it too because that's what adults do.
Yeah,
that's what adults do. And you're not telling me why you're doing it. You're not telling me the reason for this. I got to figure that shit on my own. So I think having that just constant conversation and communication. Yes, they may get aggravated. Yes, they may get on your damn nerves, but you rather them ask you why and build that trust. Because what happens, like we did, we start asking our dumbass friends.
And then we're going off what they said.
And they don't know either. So-and-so said if I do this. So-and-so said if I X, Y, Z. Mm-hmm. So-and-so fucked up.
Don't listen. I have an issue with my daughter. So do you have a son and a daughter?
Son and a daughter.
I'm gonna get back to that. I have an issue
and a bonus daughter. A bonus daughter too.
So you got 3 babies.
I got 3.
Issue is I'll tell my child something and she'll be like, "No, my teacher didn't say that." And to me, it's like they building, because the kids go to school so long, they're building the kids to listen to everything they say instead of listen to what the parent and how the parent wants to raise them. Because I taught my kids, I said, "Hey, Thanksgiving is not something to celebrate." Well, why it brought everybody together? No, it didn't. That came in here and gave smallpox, damn near genocide, the whole Indian community.
Yep.
I said, so go tell your teacher that and teach her that. So my daughter went back to tell her. The teacher was like, no, we can't talk about that. But that's reality.
That's reality.
And how do you, from what they're teaching and what you're trying to tell them, it comes like a confusion in between that. How are we supposed to be able to decipher between those two?
I think as you go back to consistency and telling them, I mean, just being like kids, and from being kids can handle a lot more than we think, but keeping it on whatever level they're. So the way I talk to my son now at 15, it may be the same subject, but it's different than how I talk to him at 8.
Yeah.
And the 8 was different how I talked to him at 4. Maybe the same as that subject, but now I can add a little bit more explanation, add a little bit more, and letting them know this is why. This is why you have to go to this is why you have to go to school. This is the law. You got to get a diploma and just telling them why so they get it. Like for me, my mom growing up, we was Jehovah's Witness, and then dad's family was Muslim and this, and so a lot of that stuff, like we were saying, they taught it to us, like with Thanksgiving, we celebrate all that stuff, and I was able to learn the truth, and I was able to separate. They just telling me this stuff. I basically got to do my work and pass my grade,
do my own due diligence,
and get out of here. Yeah, but don't stop teaching.
So, do you teach your son different the way you teach your daughter?
Yes and no. I give them, make sure they. My whole thing is, what's the principle I'm trying to give them? Like what I'm trying, and the way I talk to him is different than how I have to talk to her, and vice versa. Like I can talk to him a certain way, and he'll get it, and I can talk to her a certain way, she get it, but I can't talk to him the same because they total opposite. Like if I talk to her like I talk to him, she gonna look at me like I'm crazy.
What do you mean by that?
So my son is he's very studious. He's a nerd. He's in the tech programming. He one of the kids that's jacked up on pro. He makes straight A's, but after he do his A's, he want to go program and play his games. He don't care about Jordans. He don't care about any of that stuff. He makes under classes, run on the track team. My daughter, she could care less about school. She gonna do just enough. She's a junior this year. She gonna do just enough to pass. She kind of very laid back. Like she almost got like a I don't care attitude a lot. So with her, I gotta come at her a little different. Like, look,
is it so you have to be a little bit more forceful with your daughter than your son?
With my tone,
okay,
and not raise my voice, but I gotta have a more serious tone with her before I lighten it up. With him, I can lighten it up first and then get serious, and he get it. With her, I gotta be serious, then lighten it up. But this is important, and they just learn different environment,
different.
Yeah, they just learn different.
Oh well, I can get that too. I have 2 daughters, and both of them learn completely different as well. To me, I could say both of my daughters got good grades. My youngest one, she feel like she can do whatever the hell she wants to, and you have to knock her down. Like, listen, little girl,
you're a kid.
You are a child.
That's it.
But in this society, they from what they seeing, or like the older generation talking to the child like an adult, or having conversations, and it's hard to no, you can't do that. You can't. My oldest daughter, she's more sensitive. She don't want to be bothered. Just let her be.
Right.
Let her go watch her anime.
Right.
Let her be calm. Let her lay down. Oh, I'm tired. Not my youngest one. My youngest one remind me a little bit of myself,
Right, right.
But I never knew you was a Jehovah's Witness. I don't known you since I was what?
I mean, I'm 16? Not now, but I grew up. Yeah. No, before that, you was
like
14. You were 14. So my mother, I was raised until the age of about, when I was 16, I mean, devout Jehovah's Witness. I'm talking about, they had me knocking on doors at 5 years old.
That's
they
my
had me
boyfriend.
Giving talks at 6 years old. They were sending me to, I would go live with my dad's family in New York. They were sending me to Brooklyn to the school. I'm talking about, I was in it. My dad's family was in New York. My dad lives in Greenville, but all of his family, my mom would send me to go live with them in New York. And you met a few of my cousins before. Most of that family, the Dominican side was Catholic, and my other dad's side was Muslim. So I had a little bit of all of it until I got to a certain age. And my mom, one thing, she always taught me to research.
Yeah.
Don't even take my word for it. Research everything. And so, I started researching all of them, like, something ain't right. But I got that from my mom. Like, she had her stuff with it, and she did what she best she could do too. But one thing she always would teach me was to don't always do your research. And that's what helped me start deciphering, like, okay, okay, that ain't factual. Okay, this ain't factual, and I ain't messing with that. I ain't messing with that. I get in it for a little bit, do my due diligence, and be like, okay, something ain't right. So yeah, absolutely. But the teaching, even with all of that religion and all of that, it's still those basic social skills. It helped me be social, from talking to people and knocking on doors and being able to give talks on microphone. Like, that was before early. I didn't know it, but still those life skills like emotional fitness, mental, that stuff was still never ever talked about in any other religion or at home.
Yeah, so my boyfriend grew up Jehovah's Witness, knocking on doors, all of that.
Yeah.
So he was like heavy into it. So, I done learned a little bit more about that religion than I knew now. But, so do you think that if you was to move out the United States, that you can offer a better life for your kids outside of the U.S.?
Yeah, no. I'm trying to preface this because, I ain't gonna say all of it. So I got some close friends and relationships in other countries that I frequent, that I visit, and my visa good. So stuff go crazy. I'm over there for 6 months. I'm over there for 3 months. I'm good. I'm exposing my children to different environments. But I will say that if I could do it all over again and could let them go through at least grade school in another country and had that option at the time, I would. Just because a lot of them do get those life skills early, even if not necessarily direct from the teacher. They get it just from the culture, the environment, like the way they're social with each other, the way their manners with each other, and just picking up on stuff like that. And then on top of it, just like the subject you were talking about with Thanksgiving, like they don't even teach that American history in other countries. They teach, of course, the country they're in, but they teach world history, which helps the child be able to research. It make them researchers.
So, would you ever leave the United States?
Yeah, I would.
Okay, and some
permanently, if it came down to it, I will say with United States right now, it's still the best country in the world. Only because they say it's a democracy, but we capitalistic. Yeah. It's a capitalist society, which means money gonna always rule it.
Yeah.
It sucks, but on the flip end of it, it's great because there's no limit to what you can do. And now with the internet,
you can go above and beyond.
Yeah,
right?
your
But
business
that's
can be
in any country though. Like
Right.
some places are offering free citizenship to African Americans.
But we got an embassy. The thing about what make United States good. If I go to Barbados, if I go to certain place in Italy, and I get into something, being a United States citizen right now is cool because you got an embassy there, and they coming to get you.
Yeah.
If you give up citizenship here, say if I was born in Barbados or born in these countries, and I get in trouble somewhere else, I'm stuck.
But a lot of these countries that I'm getting ready to name, they offer dual citizenship, like Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Nigeria.
Yep.
So
I'm looking into them.
Yeah, would there be
Yes,
because it's offering dual citizenship? So
yes,
is that something that you think people should look into?
Anybody of any type of African descent,
Should
whether you black, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Haitian, you should look at dual citizenship. And those countries in particular, especially Kenya and Ghana in particular, they really want us to come back. And what we do here is times 10 over there. Yeah. It's crazy.
But you know what's my thing is too, like, I'm native to this land. To me, it's just like being called African American.
I'm American.
I'm American, and if you want to say I'm Native American, so
you probably are. They know probably. You probably was here before Columbus got here.
Absolutely,
we was here before Columbus got here, and somebody used to, when they used to have that talk about, we go back to Africa. I'm like, wow, we built America. Why would I go back?
Which I wouldn't mind. Again, I wouldn't mind having dual citizenship. But
America's home.
Yeah,
and like I said, if it got that bad and I had to, but I think every American or any African descent should look in and start doing dual citizenship.
So, South Africa being part of the dual citizenship, they're also part of the BRIC nation.
Yeah.
So, I literally just heard this, and I don't want to quote unquote say it because I didn't do research on it. I just skimmed by it. In 2018, Donald Trump actually went to the reserve and took all our gold out or something like that. What you know? More into that?
I give you more history than that.
Okay.
Actually, America went from they trying to blame it on Trump. America went from the gold standard back in the 70s.
Yeah.
So it used to be the gold. It was the Federal Reserve was all gold, and they went to what they call a fiat. Yeah. Fiat, basically, they just print paper.
Yeah.
And that's how they get out. They print paper. It went from the gold standard. Not to get too political on here, but if you go back to when.
No, we can get political.
Barack Obama was president, and the whole thing about you had a name called Gaddafi.
The
whole Gaddafi thing.
I had a whole conversation with my sister and them about Gaddafi.
So they killed him because he was actually uniting all the African nations off of the gold standard.
And that's what Russia is doing right now.
And all these other countries are doing. And a lot of African countries that join, I think the UAE, Sudan, and all of them are joining in January.
Did you hear what is it Nigeria, what they're doing right now with the French embassy?
Yep. The only problem, like I say, the major thing why the U.S. has been a force to be reckoned with, for one, of course, they got
the military bomb some shit down.
The military is so advanced. Not only that, they got interests. Like it's almost they done slept with everybody everywhere, and they got the panty drawer of everybody. So they got like money everywhere. Mm-hmm. That's what keep the U.S. And plus, to be honest, man, black people keep them. We spend 1.9 trillion
on bullshit,
and we only spend 2% of that goes to black on black businesses. So we spend that. So we'll be the 7th richest country in the world. If the amount of money we spend, if we were to be a country, we'd be the 7th richest country in the world. And so the United States, every nation can fall. Rome fell, Greece fell, but it's going to be hard for the U.S. to fall. One, because of us and what we spend, and because of their military. But the BRIC, I would look at those countries that go into the BRIC and look at those citizenships.
China.
Because the dollar,
I'm about to get into that.
Yeah, the dollar.
What kind of situation do you, before we get into how much it equal to, what kind of situation do you think United States going to be in with when the BRICS roll out this new currency backed by gold? And also, how long do you think it's going to take for that to happen?
It's already there. I mean,
it's in effect. They say it's going to start in effect in January of 2024. But when do you actually think it's going to affect the United States, and what do you think is going to happen to us?
They're already preparing for it. Like when you see inflation, like they start preparing. All this was in working before COVID, and so with COVID, they pumped out a bunch of fake money.
Right.
We got it. We gave it right back to them. It's almost like the movie. What's that Rush Hour movie where they printed fake money and they went to the casino and they got real money back? That's exactly what that whole COVID situation was.
Yeah,
they
with
gave
the stimulus checks.
They gave us fake stimulus and we gave them real money and some back. And so it's already begun. If you watch next year, mark my words on it, inflation going up.
We see that already.
It's going up even more.
Look at the housing.
Yeah, Larissa, and we will. People mark my word on this podcast. Our next president will be Republican.
I'm voting.
It's going to be Republican, and I'm going to tell you why. Because the money going to be messed up, and when the money messed up, they're going to bring in a Republican to fix it.
My theory is, and this is me completely saying this, and I have to say this.
Conspiracy theory.
So we'll let them know. My theory is we're not going to be able to vote for a president because we're going to be at war. So if we're at war, we're not going to be able to put a Republican in office to fix this.
Yep.
So
it's going to be I think they may hold off until after the presidency, but it's definitely going to be whether it's on ground or they attack the financial systems or however.
Or the grid.
It's a million ways they can wage war without guns, but war is coming. And so going back to the dual citizenship, just making sure that you and your family can still move. Like start looking at it. Yes, I'm an American, but I got to be a global citizen. At this point, everybody should be working on being a global citizen. Meaning, yes, I'm an American, but I also can go to this country and go to that country.
They saying by 2050, travel is going to be damn near impossible, especially if we go all off electricity, because the carbon footprint and all of that, which I'm telling you, I've been sad here just feeling, like spiritually, I could feel it. It's a spiritual warfare going on.
It's a shift.
My energy, something is going on, and I could feel it is tampering with me, and I've been a little off lately.
Yep.
But that's gonna be sad. What my kids gonna do? I haven't been able to travel. What about food? They're trying to source out where they're trying to get these smart cities and get everybody in the smart cities and have full control over food. Bill Gates done bought up all this land, and then he's making modified food from
fake
chicken and cells. It saddens me for the world. It saddens me for the United States. It saddens me because me as a single person can't do anything about it, and we can't collectively come together to do something about this because these people basically own us. Yeah, because we are what. We are a corporation.
That's it. We're a corporation. Your Social Security card, if you look, you're owned by the United States is a corporation.
The Federal Reserve.
Federal Reserve. The fact that we even got the FDA, a Food and Drug Administration, why are they together? Why is it? Because they put the drugs in the food.
Of course.
Why are they together? So I tell people it can be easy. I've got depressed from it. Just thinking about it, it can be easy to get depressed. Just all we can do
is try to fix it within ourselves.
That's it.
And spiritually,
that's it. Get on, find way and like I say, going back to upbringing and teaching, learning how to keep your frequency right, learning how to
upbring it.
All that we gotta we gotta become global citizens and learn that what they said. Don't do this. Don't meditate. Like who said that? Who said that shit?
We need to get our chakras in line.
Get all that shit right.
Decalcified. We need all of that.
We are so powerful, and when we start getting that shit right, it don't matter where we live at. I'm gonna attract the right stuff for me. I'm gonna be where I need to be when I need to be, and it's all about it. Again, going back to that. I got to do something. No, I need to go in, start lining myself up, and that'll let me know what I need to do, what to do.
You know what broke my heart? That stuff that happened in Maui.
That's sad.
That hurt. Like
That's
I
sad.
felt the pain, and I felt that. Like
I felt it's sad.
it's-
I couldn't watch any of the footage on it.
How is that even possible for them to do that? And then thinking about it, the kids were out of school, parents was at work.
Yeah.
It's just that saddens me. Like that broke my heart.
When you start doing man.
And that was from the well, no,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say that.
well,
yeah,
I'm
not gonna say.
I started seeing
that.
how every few years it seemed like every time Haiti would start to get back on their feet, something would happen. Then how
Right.
they did Puerto Rico a few years ago, and Puerto Rico still kind of struggling. That's a U.S.
That's U.S.
That's
territory.
U.S. territory, but just like I say, going back to capitalism and the strive for always keeping it, got to be a us and them. Like it got to be
No, we need
here and that versus
we gotta unite together.
We have to.
It doesn't matter if you got a spirit, then we need to be together. But we're gonna go back to the BRICS dollar versus the U.S. dollar. So they said that one BRICS dollar will equal up $55 of U.S. dollars, and we get all our stuff from China, which is a part of BRICS.
Yep.
Everything we done is international. Nothing is really domestic. We don't make anything anymore in the United States. We don't do none of that.
Yeah.
So how are we going to survive from that?
Going back to what you're saying, finding out what part of your purpose is, what your gift is share, and then just trying to help as many other people as you can do the same thing. And that is invaluable. And that, again, going back to that global citizen thing, if I'm just relying on U.S. industry and I'm just relying on what I can get, like locally or even regionally or in the we're gonna be in trouble.
Yeah.
We got automation; it's already here.
Yeah.
AI going.
People been robbing people with that AI app and all of that. You know
and
that,
AI,
right?
yeah, and AI. People don't know AI been around since like 2006. This is the first time that people get to use it. That's why ChatGPT is called Open AI.
Yeah.
AI been around since about 06. Really, since about 2000, since the whole 99 2000 thing, it's just accessible now, and that's why Open AI and you got more talks about it. But like I said, they've been planning this stuff for years.
So how do you think it's going to affect you, being your own business owner? How do you think that's going to affect you?
Our superpower. Our superpower as human beings is, that's why I focus so much on emotions, is our ability to empathize, our ability to connect, our ability to, like if I'm a lawyer and I'm able to connect with my client and build that trust, they won't care what I'm charging. They know I'm working on behalf of them. I'm their advocate. A robot can't do that. They can do a skill. They might can do it 10 times faster, but if anything seems off, the robot going off. So it's always going to be need for a human component. But then on top of that, I tell people as a Black or Spanish American, the only thing, like, we weren't given the biggest export we got is culture.
Yeah.
And they value it. They know what we got, but we don't value our culture and our ability. If you look at anything we get involved in, we kill it. We murder it. We give it culture. You see people breakdancing in Japan. Our culture and who we are just from being dope as shit on a daily basis. They learn how to bottle that shit up. That is recession. That's recession proof.
Even with the BRICS thing, you think it's recession proof?
They want us. All them countries that's going to BRICS, they love us. Listen.
Even Russia said they'll take us.
They love us.
Yeah, Russia.
All them countries you just named, most of them part of the BRICS thing, and they begging us to come back. Now my Caucasian counterparts, they got to figure some shit out. But all the other countries, they love us.
Yeah.
So I'm not real worried. I'm more worried about if we don't start becoming global citizens, and the people who don't, and our people who don't, and I'm just cool with what I see in front of me here. You're fucked.
I feel like if we can raise that vibration and get everybody on one accord, not white against black.
Absolutely.
Not that talking about racism shit.
It's bullshit.
They do that to divide, even when it comes to the election.
Yep.
Me and my boyfriend was talking about how Joe Biden was on the Breakfast Club with,
Yeah.
you know, talking about if you're not black, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. Like
Right.
that separates and divide
Yep.
us as people.
How about
and-
just voting for who got the best interest, or who at least saying they got the best? They probably lying too, but at least I don't care they Republican, whatever they are. Yeah. Whoever saying they got the best interest, I don't care what they are.
I said I started to put on Facebook, Donald Trump, our great white hope.
Shit, Donald Trump go open the vote back up.
Let us see. He all about business.
Listen.
And he all about America. I'm gonna say that about Trump.
He
Trump.
might be the next. I kid you not. I believe Trump gonna be the president again.
And then
I
what is it, Miss Squawky? Am I saying this ain't right?
Something like that. And it would surprise me. Trump gonna be president,
And he be vice president or vice versa?
and he might get a black VP. That would surprise me if he got it might be a shell person,
Yeah.
like a Tim Scott or somebody like that. You know, they ain't let that nigga do that. But it might be vice president. But I wouldn't be surprised if Trump is president and VP. They showed the Republican shit last year. All of them, they asked all of them. So even though with Trump's indictments, if y'all don't win the presidential race, but y'all still vote for it, they all raise their hand. Like,
Yep.
Yep.
We getting to it. So third shift, with your business, do you ever work third shift? Like over during the night and trying to get everything together overnight, even with businesses here, corporations, third shift workers. Do you think that's ethical?
No.
And do you do it?
I don't. I got cutoff times. I got days. I mean, when I was young, again, going back to how we raised, you grind 24/7, sleep when you die, all that bullshit that's unhealthy as hell. What that does, you burn out. You end up losing more time. You can't focus the way you need to focus because you don't have any rest. You ain't eating right because you out of whack. So
Yeah.
I'm totally, and I've had in a few professions, I've third shift, all nighters, 3 days at times. Sometimes I didn't sleep for almost a whole week. I do that shit now, I may pass out, but I didn't sleep for like a whole week. And I think that is unethical. Our bodies ain't made to be up third shift.
Yeah.
Our body's made when the sun come up, that cycle, what they call it, our circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
It's made sunrise and
then we fall at night when
we fall asleep, our body settled in, the moon come down, it lowers all the stress level. So I don't think we even made the word third shift. So yeah, I think it's completely, but again, American.
Is that corporation?
Other countries, they got 3-4 day work weeks. They got 3 hour lunch breaks, and they still pumping out as much.
They was talking about one time about how they saying that 40-hour weeks is unethical. That we need to break it down into. They said 38 hours, but knocking one day off, which is better than none. You know what I'm saying? But I looked up a couple of things, and they said study shows that people that work third shift have a higher rate of obesity, diabetes, and cancer. It's a link between lack of sleep and cancer, what's caused cancer. Insufficient sleep is linked to bowel cancer, prostate cancer, and also breast cancer.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
So I'm gonna tell you this, and it's public knowledge. So everybody who in it, America. So okay, I'm gonna give you a scenario.
No, tell me the fact first, and then give me a scenario.
Okay, the fact is, America makes no profit off you healing. America makes big pharma corporations that own and pay that win elections. They put the pork in the bills. They make no money off of you being healthy. Every medicine or drugs, it's not medicine. Medicine, food is medicine. It's food. So all the drugs they got, because they legal drug dealers. All the drugs they got, the drug is the cut off shit to make you forget you got the symptoms. It don't heal the shit. Your body heals itself. If you read all the ingredients and whether it's Tylenol to the shit they get at the hospital, there's nothing in it that actually heals you. It just cut off receptors to make you forget about the symptoms. Yeah, it make you forget about the symptoms. Your body heals itself. And so the American plan is, so you would think that you go to all these other countries, you go to like France or China, if you sleep with somebody's wife, if you steal, they chopping off fingers, you going to jail. This shit don't happen, right? You would think China had a 2-kid limit, right? For years. Had a 2-kid limit, and it's like 1 billion of them. And so they fucking, right? 2-kid limit.
They fucking.
2-kid limit, and they're overpopulated, right? 2-kid limit. America, you can sleep with who you want, when you want. Why aren't we overpopulated? Because they make sure if you follow the diet, if you follow the work schedule, that you're going to
You
be sick
gonna
as fuck by 63. By the time you 65 to get your benefits, half of that's going to your medication, and you're going to die at 66. And all that money you spent 40 years working to give back to the government, you get about a year of it, and then it go right back in there. Yeah. It's the biggest corporation in the world.
And they're paid for us to get sick, like you said. Yes. Goes back into it. Oh, we're going to give you this with the 401k or your retirement benefits.
Bullshit.
We're going to get that back. Insulin is fucking almost $2,000 for insulin.
Sugar is and all the sugar derivatives and all the other names they got for it. That's the biggest drug in the world.
And that comes in alcohol, you guys. So quit drinking.
Well, tequila, but you know I love tequila.
The agave.
It's agave. It's natural.
Uh-huh.
It's natural. And actually, they found out.
They say agave cause memory loss. So
anything in overload. Anything. If I take too much vitamin C, I'm going to fuck my gut up. Mm-hmm. If I take too many vitamin C pills, in overload, in excess. But it's a plant, and yes, like anything else, it could be misused, like marijuana and all of that. The right way, it ain't my thing. It can be good for you, but if you anything that's good can be bad if you overdo it, even if it was meant for good. But yeah, they gonna make sure if you follow their plan, you might make it. That's if you make it to 65. Maybe.
Maybe.
If you make it, but if you follow their diet, you follow their work plan.
And that's why they cut off the life expectancy. Is it like what, 75, 76?
And that's if you follow their plan to the T. Now, if you person of color or you go through stress, most black men having heart attacks my age and younger, they dropping dead. They heart disease from stress. Our women get, the women from stress, men's stress go down below. So you get more colon cancers, prostate cancers, and heart disease. Women's, it stay right here by their heart. They get more breast cancers, and then they start getting fibroids, and they get all these autoimmune things. And that's with our culture. And that shit is by design, man. It
is. And why you said that, I want to go into actually mental health. And I'm going to say this. Racism, trauma, and mental health. Do you feel like all three of those tie in together?
Yep. I know for a fact they do. It's a study. You have a chance to go research it if you haven't already. I know you read it, called epigenetics. So I researched epigenetics, quantum physics, and neuroscience. Epigenetics is so people they came out with this bullshit that if your parents had cancer, you can genetically get cancer. What they didn't tell people, they came back a year later and said we was wrong. Disease is only other than like LL, cerebral palsy or LL, some shit like that. But all other cancers or diseases, it's only 2% genetics. Is 98% environment. Mm-hmm. So what epigenetics is, we don't inherit the disease, we inherit the environment and the trauma. And the environment and the trauma impress upon our genes and unlocks it. So if I ate like my mama did, if I stressed like my mama did, and if I have the same emotional issues that she did, I'm gonna unlock them same genes for cancer.
I'm about to get into that.
I'm gonna unlock them same, but I can again raise my frequency, eating better. I don't have to get this shit, but I know if I don't, that's what's waiting for me. So it all play together.
So you do feel like mental health is a stigma among black people that can be traced back to slavery or traced back to genetic genes from previous, which goes back to what has been done to your mama, your great-grandma, your great-grandma, and your great-great-great-great-great-grandma.
Yeah. The body keeps score. Our body holds trauma. Our body holds pain. Like if you look at where you got burned at, and you get close to an eye, you automatically jump back. The cells, now it's ways to somatically release trauma and release that shit from. But our cells, we so powerful. Our cells hold memory and they hold trauma, and that's what we inherit.
That's how they're being able to actually take your mind, or what's it called, your mind, and transfer it into whatever your conscious, and transfer it into multiple things. It's like a fucking computer system that they can transfer from, even with the DNA. They say that the black person, the original black person has what, I don't want to say the wrong thing.
We are powerful, man.
That has more DNA genes or DNA strands than the average person. So trauma can be passed down through genes. And the process is called intergenerational transmission.
Yep.
And stress can be caused by reproduction cells, and it also can cause issues with your fetus because it's going to be passed down to it. So, people, our ancestors experienced trauma, even with, you see in the slavery books where they'll take a pregnant woman, slice it down the middle, have the baby drop out, and do it in front of people to see.
Yeah, you ever heard of butt breaking?
That's part of it, and that's where they have the men and what they
would take. So black, like I say, they did a number on black men and black women as the culture. So butt breaking, they would take. They call them strong bucks. They would get the strongest men out the colony or out, whatever the neighborhood was. They get the strongest buck. They bend him over in front of everybody. And rape him.
Yeah.
The men would. They call it butt breaking, so don't y'all try it. So that's why I used to hate what we would call it ourselves. I know why we do it, but they describe us, we would call ourselves savages and all that shit. Like, no, they did some savage shit. Licorice, the black licorice used to be called gator bites because they in Florida, they got that name from, they would take the black babies and use them for gator bites. So they did some savage shit going on, and all that trauma. Not being able to be with your family. You're a grown man and they pimping you out the other villages. Or you're a woman and you got to watch your man get raped. Or you got to, all that stuff is in our cells. But also the plus side about all of this, doom and gloom, everybody, is that if the negative exists, so does the positive. So that resilience, that ability to conquer any situation you in, that ability to be innovative, all that shit is just as much in that. And that's what they fear. Yeah. That's what they always fear. Because if they didn't, they just give us reparation, they give us all this others, but they fear that y'all are smart enough to overtake us, and y'all might actually kill us if we get y'all this. So we're gonna keep you right. We're gonna try to at least try to keep you right where you at.
And us, and I'm gonna say this, us as black people, it's not even racism. We don't even want that. We want to be collectively kumbaya together.
I think we built like that. Yeah. That's the human. And I ain't gonna get who not all the way human and not, but I think that's what makes that's the
that's
human.
a whole different.
That's a whole other subject.
We can talk about that.
Yeah, that's the full blood human, God made human in us that makes us Superman. Our ability to love, and that's what they hate. I
wanna kind of tilt her off subject just for a second.
Right.
Do you believe that racism still exists as of today, or do you think that we holding on to this trauma that we haven't let go, and we using it as an excuse?
So, I got a few answers to that. It exists covert and overt, meaning in some regions, like we in the South region, you go to some places, you still can get treated, no matter how much money you got, what you got, you can get treated like a nigger. Yet, on the flip side of that, you also...
Not a nigger.
Yeah, a nigger. and you got systematic racism to where... I was in InvestFest last week, and Diddy was talking about, he was on stage, and Diddy was talking about, like, even as a billionaire, he still got to fight in them rooms. They'll only give him 5% of advertising dollars for shit, and he did it. He's a billionaire, and they just gave, say, Nabisco or the white counterpart, they just gave him 40% of advertising dollars. So I think it's more systematic. Like, they get more clever. I think it's systematic, but again,
wait, but before you move on, I want to touch on it. You don't think that it's because of Diddy's background and Nabisco's background that's why they didn't offer more, not because it's race?
Yeah. So Robert Smith was there too. Robert Smith, he's the richest black man in America, right? His company is worth $100 billion. Richest black man in America. He's been doing innovation. He got a hedge fund. He reinvests wealthy companies. He growing the bigger companies. He's been doing it for over 20, 30 something years. He said he still experiences, even though he got his resume, his company's worth $100 billion. He's sitting on tape, he still experiences that from people that's, of course, way less net worth than him. And he got a track record, like we didn't even, like the culture didn't even hear of him until he paid off everybody at Morehouse tuition. Yeah. But he's been a billionaire for a long time, and he still experiences that when he with his counterparts. It's almost like, I gotta always show the business case for that, and I got a track record. But that's not everywhere. So I think it's more systematic. And then in certain, of course, in the South, you still got some of that stuff. It's funny, we go to Charleston a lot. You go downtown Charleston, you don't see us ever. You gotta go to North Charleston. And me and my brother, we were looking around like, why do white people love Charleston so much? It stink. The food ain't that good. Why do they love Charleston so much? And we figured it out. It's their Atlanta. It makes them feel like the old days. This is the only one of the places they can go, and that's why all the slaves came through, the International Museum right there in Charleston. But it's the only place they can go, and they can still feel like the old days.
It's their Atlanta.
I can't. Charleston is the white Atlanta. Charleston's the white Atlanta.
I can't say that because, again, I only been to Charleston maybe like twice.
Yeah.
So I can't say that. But do you think it stems back from it's embedded in our genes to feel this way about that situation?
Yeah, no.
Because the CDC declared that racism is a serious threat to health. So it's a threat to the public health. But again, we just talked about how mental health and trauma and all this is passed down genetically.
Right.
Do you feel like we still hold that against the whole thing?
We got to find a balance. Because I can't ignore it. Like I can't ignore it because, like I say, systematically, if I got an 800 credit score, my white counterpart got an 800 credit score. He could go to the bank and get 400 grand. They might give me 80 grand. Why? I might have a track record longer than his. Why? If I got a house in
so you personally have
I personally experienced it. If I got a house, if I try to sell a house in a certain neighborhood. And then I get a white person to go list in a certain neighborhood. They list it for hire. Not everywhere. It don't happen everywhere, but it's still some systematic. That's what I'm saying, systematic. I'm not saying the whole country's racist. Every white person's a racist. None of that. But it's still some systematic. And I only use the word racism because it's more classism. Like in other countries, even in Africa, they got the poor black people. And like in South Africa, the white people are the niggas over there. Look up South Africa where Mandela was. The black people, they got their shit back from apartheid, and the white people, the niggas in certain part of South Africa. So I think it's always, even before they invented race, because it was invented, they invented racism, it was classism. And that's that fear of it's not enough. Like if we make everything equal, then it's not enough. And I think that goes back, white people got trauma too. And that's a whole nother conversation, is that fear of they were below for centuries, in which they found out a way to get ahead. They got an insecurity of we don't want to be back below again.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to that is a subject to get into. I want to focus on a little bit more of in mental health, and it's going to go a little bit both ways as well. They say that Black African Americans are less likely to die from suicide at all ages, but however, Black African American teenagers are most likely to commit suicide than their white teenager counterparts. Mm-hmm. Why is that?
Resources. So I give you an example, and this is something, like I said, they got a 400-year head start than we do in this country. We just in the last, now almost 150 years, got access to health care. Mm-hmm. We just now, even in our lifetime, the past few years, now they're all of a sudden talking more about mental health. Because before that, they was experimenting on us. They was using us. They was
you can say that with Jewish people.
We gonna get on that now, but
okay.
Yeah, no,
man. Okay.
Yeah. Anywho. So, yeah. So they experimented with us in certain shit. So white people, they sat at the dinner table. They still sit down at the dinner table, like this shit has been embedded into them for generations. This shit, we learning how to build wealth, and we learning all this shit that's been here. So going back to the white teenagers, they've always had those resources. They never
to
shied
kill
away.
themselves.
No. They won't. A lot of them, they do, and pills and shit like that. But they have the resources around them. Like, it wasn't nothing for them to go to the doctor and get some medication, or go to the doctor and get checkups, or go and talk. Like, their resources. For so long we were taught, especially black men, don't cry, don't talk about that. You weak. Pull your bootstrap up. You got to handle business. Ain't nobody but
But
me.
why is it? My thing is, why is it that more black people try to commit suicide, but more white people actually succeed in it?
Yeah.
And as young teenagers, that's what I'm trying to figure out with this question I'm asking.
Oh, why do the white people actually do it and the black people don't?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought, well.
No, because it says African Americans actually try to commit suicide more often than whites.
Got you.
But whites succeed more than African Americans.
Oh, well, that's easy. Going back to epigen, it's just in our DNA. We always got a will to live. We always got purpose to live for. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of slaves that wanted to commit suicide and they didn't. They probably could. Anybody could have. It's something about us that's special. That I don't want to even call it resilience because I don't even know that's the right word for it. Mm-hmm. But something gives us a will to live and move forward. I mean, I just think I ain't biased about saying that. I just think it's something real special about us that maybe they know and we don't. But we ain't figured out yet.
We ain't figured out yet. Or is it because that we're just now getting around to mental health and they're just now being able to study what's going on with us in regards to that?
Yeah.
I'm not, I just want to know.
I think it's more mainstream. It's always been around. I think because of social media.
Yeah.
And all of that is more talked about and more mainstream. And a lot of what us and even the newer generation, because of all the information, we ain't just like a lot of our parents or grandparents, they had to take what they was given. They weren't allowed to go to libraries. They weren't allowed to get certain books. They weren't, like in this country at least, they just weren't allowed to read, for years. So I don't think that they didn't want to know about that stuff. They just didn't have access to it.
So what are some of the things that our community need to understand when it comes to mental health? And we need to make mental health a priority. So I know you being a life coach and you been focusing on mental health within our community. What are some of the things that we need to actually see and need help with?
More conversation around it. Conversation sparks self-awareness, which sparks research, which sparks. Once you get self-awareness about something, it's kind of hard. It makes it harder and harder to go back to the way you was.
Yeah. So
I would just say more and more smaller base too, almost like politics. We just more conversation and practical tools. So somebody may not feel like, man, I don't got the money or I don't feel like going to. Okay, if you can't do that, read this book. Or if you can't do that, talk to this. Or if you can't do that, at least build some self-awareness. So just giving practical steps to at least get that self-awareness and let the rest sometimes, like you say, information is abundant now. Yeah.
So, and again, everybody, I want to take the time because mental health is something that needs to be addressed. We no longer need to say, oh, what stays in the household, what goes on in the household, stay in the household, because we need to be able to express that and be able to understand it when it comes to it. So I want to give you a few things that you can look for, even in your friend, your family, your sister, anybody around you, things that you can see to recognize depression. Like if you see somebody that has a poor appetite, not eating that much, trouble sleeping, your better half, nervousness, always worried, loss of interest, withdrawal from activities that they used to love to do, feeling sad and it can't go away, lack of energy. These are signs of depression, and please try to sit down and talk with the individual to see what you can help as a community as a whole to help us get back to where we are. Do you have anything that people can recognize when it comes to depression?
Absolutely. With all the mental health, always do a check holistically. And what I mean by that, mind, body, and soul. Don't just look at my thoughts. Look at what am I thinking? What is my body telling me? What am I putting in my body? What am I eating? What am I looking at? Like, look at your diet holistically. Instead of looking at your diet mentally, look at it holistically.
Yeah.
Western culture, they separate all three of them. But in other cultures, it's always all three. So if you see somebody, all those things that you said, if somebody's depressed or look depressed, Ask them, what have you been eating?
Yeah.
How you been sleeping? How you been taking care of yourself? Because it could be certain foods. You got 80% of your nervous system and your emotions are in your gut. You got more dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin in your gut than you do your head. That's why if you get nervous, you get bubble guts or certain stuff. You got more of those hormones in your stomach than you do your brain. Mm-hmm. And so going back to the food is medicine and stuff. You can eat a certain way and it can make you depressed. You can eat a certain way and it can give you anxiety. If you miss that with stress, then you miss that with, well, because I'm stressed, because I'm having to work third shift, I can't work out. And because I can't work out, I can't eat worth of shit. I don't got time to cook, so I got to get this quick shit.
And then you have to think, too, even with animals, the way they slaughtered, if they slaughtered terrified, that transfers into the cells of the animal, and then you eating it and processing it in your body, which causes, again, stress and unhealthiness and unhappiness because of what you're intaking. On top of spiritually, the people that's cooking, some people just ain't shit that's cooking. That
what's your diet and what's the diet of the people you get your diet from? Right. What am I watching? All that food. What am I watching? What am I listening to? Mm-hmm. All of that shit matter, man.
The music. I haven't really been listening to music, and I love music.
Absolutely.
But again, I told you, I said it's something spiritually going on. There's a spiritual warfare that's going on that I can feel. I can't even intake or ingest the music that I love because everything I'm like, I can't hear that because can't hear that. So be careful what you listen to. The Hurts. You want to listen to something that has, what is it? Is it 570 megahertz? It starts at 432, but 432, 570, 650, 9. And even 1,000 heals what your DNA strands, right?
The on what they call it, the guide frequency, like 950 something megahertz. But that's the one that starts to activate
the third eye,
your pituitary gland, aka your third eye, and all of that shit. It
pineal gland.
Your pineal gland. That whole place in the Bible they're talking about where Israel they were fighting. That place was called pineal. It wasn't really a face. He was fighting himself. It's
right
here. In other cultures call it third eye. It's called your what's the name, chakra. In other cultures, it's all the same thing. Mm-hmm. But that controls everything you do. Is frequency. With frequency you put out is what you're gonna get back. And so it's controlling that through food, diet, holistic diet. What do I listen to? What am I eating? What am I seeing? All of that. And like I said, Western society, they got it down to a science. Facebook and all this stuff, they hire psychologists. It's psychologists that works for Oreo. You know what I'm saying? So all this is by design.
And we could get into that with the symbol on top of Oreo, but we're not going to even get into that on this episode. Yep. But with that being said, things to help fight depression also, make sure you get enough sleep.
Yes.
Lack of sleep can cause depression.
Yes.
Exercise more. Get out in the sun. 12 o'clock, go out and stand and do what is sunbathing. You can do that. Make sure you eating healthy, like he said. Make sure you realize what you're intaking in your body. Meditation is the key, and I haven't been doing that lately because, again, lack of time.
Right.
But meditation and becoming one with the universe, getting grounded, having your feet in the dirt.
Yes.
Becoming one. All that helps with depression. Sunlight, nature. That's what you need.
Start small. I'll tell people, sometimes it can seem overwhelming. Start with 5 to 10 minutes a day. Like, if we look at how much we on social media, look at it, bullshit. I can invest 5 to 10 minutes in myself, even if it's just being silent and visualizing, and getting still, taking 3 deep breaths and calming myself for 5 minutes. I can invest. Everybody can invest 5 minutes a day. Start with 5 minutes a day in yourself in the morning and before you go to sleep, and then let it build from that. But invest in you, because truth be told, you already doing it.
If you're not well, it's no way impossible that you could be able to protect and help the people around you. There's no way. So with this episode, I want y'all to take from this health Love oneself. You can't pour from an empty cup. Make sure you're always full to make sure you be able to pour into others so they can grow and be healthy. You got any last words and where they can find you and actually with your
I'm everything at Jemiah Battle. Instagram, Facebook, theselfinitiative.com is my company website, but on all social media, I'm at Jemiah Battle. It's not selfish to love yourself. People always say to go love others as you love yourself. So if I ain't loving me right,
How can I love you?
I can't love you right, which means I'm going to keep attracting people who don't love me right because I'm showing it to them. So learn to love you and start with something small. It's just being the first step to emotional fitness is self-awareness. Being aware of how do I feel and why. If you ask yourself why 5 times, I promise you'll get to the root of almost anything. Ask yourself, like a kid, ask yourself, why did this hurt my feelings? Why am I feeling this way? At least 5 times, and you'll get close to the root of it. You start with that small thing, and I promise you, in 60 to 90 days, you can almost change your health and life completely.
Because you get a better understanding within self.
Absolutely. Your body and your mind tell you everything. Like, we are made immaculate. They tell you everything that's wrong with you if you just be still enough to actually listen to it.
And that's what the Bible says when it says be still. Peace, be still.
Peace, be still. The shit ain't profound. Half the shit is super simple. When storm is raising, what do you do? Peace.
Be still.
Be still. That's it.
That's it. And with that note, thank you for tuning in to Real Fantasy Podcast. Again, it's your girl, Victoria Rosa, and I got my guy,
Jemiah Battle. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Real fantasy. You could say a little, or you could say a lot. Dreams are what you ask for, real is what you got. Take a few shots with a queen on the line, a rose in the middle, with love on the side. It's all a vibe tonight. It's all a vibe
Real Fantasy
tonight. Make
Podcast.
sure you tune in tonight.